This is the second battle in the Agony Flash tournament between Reptilicus and Poccopacs. Poccopacs commanding Asturias and Reptilicus commanding the Avars. I haven't seen the armies, but Asturias is going to get crapped on. So let's have a look at the armies. The Avars, Levy Spearmen on the front, Spearmen. Here we have Avar Noble Swords, very good sword units. At least in terms of melee damage. In shield wall these units can put the hurt on a lot of enemy units that have 40 sword damage, but they are expensive. Spearmen and Levy Spearmen. Then we have Avar Guard, Shock Cavalry. We have Avar Lancers, cheap Shock Cavalry, Levy Archers. These Levy Archers much better than the Levy Archers of other factions. So 4 Levy Archers, and then we have another Avar Lancer over here. Here we have the Avar Horse Archers, and for Asturias we have Ambushers, Guerrilla deployed over here. Then we have 2 Raider Cav. We have some more Raider Cav in here. Then we have Spearmen and Swordsmen, Royal Guardsmen. Royal Guardsmen don't have 50 melee damage, so they're going to be in a bit of a pickle against the might be in a bit of a pickle against the Avar Noble Swords. And we have 2 more Avar Horse Archers here. But it looks like the Horse Archers might get in range of the Ambushers here. Yeah, firing some flaming ammunition on the Ambushers. If they switch to heavy, they're going to be annihilating these Ambushers. And the Ambushers just can't get range on the Avar Horse Archers. And part of the problem for Asturias is that if they engage the Avars head on, shield wall for these guys, and the supporting fire from the Levy Archers is just going to absolutely shred the Royal Guards. And the Royal Guards are taking heavy shot now, moving in. Asturias, from what I remember, can't bring any good foot skirmishers with decent range. They have to rely on javelins. They do have a lot of javelins, but that's basically all they have. And against the Avars, that is really very little help. The Avar Horse Archers being chased here by the Raider Cav, but these guys could, yeah, they're switching to Flaming Shot, and they're going to be doing a lot of damage to the Raider Cav. The Raider Cav is closing in, but they're going to be running straight into the Archers. And these Levy Archers, if they get range on the Raider Cav, yeah, here we go, let's see. Nicely done there in getting them out. If that had hit the Raider Cav, there would be a lot more dead Raider Cav. But they weren't able to do that. The Avar Horse Archers have spent a significant portion of their ammunition. Not killing that much Raider Cav, but they've killed some. The Ambushers are very, very close, but nope, not in range yet. And the Ambushers, very little ammunition, very low missile block, so they're going to take a lot of damage from even Horse Archers. And the Horse Archers are just piling the fire into these. And here comes the problem now. The Royal Guardsmen, they have an exceptional missile block chance when they are in shield wall, so firing on these guys is not going to do much. Any ammunition fired into the front is wasted, but the Avar Horse Archers could fire down into the unshielded side, and now these Royal Guardsmen are actually out of shield wall. So a bit of a problem here if they start taking fire. They still have a 70% missile block, so that's good. The Raider Cav just gets screened away, can't do anything. Over here though, the Horse Archers getting hit by the Ambushers and losing a lot of men in the process. But the Royal Guardsmen taking a lot of point blank fire here, it seems. And still not in shield wall. They need to form up in shield wall as quickly as possible. Spearmen pushing back the lines of the Avars. But yeah, the Royal Guardsmen are turning their flanks And turning their flanks, they are getting absolutely annihilated by heavy shots. Just pure murder here. Look at this. Getting shot to pieces from every side. So that's one Royal Guardsman dead. He's just getting shot to pieces there. And about the same story over here. A lot of fire incoming. The Levy Archers are just jogging into the swordsmen. I wonder why. But over on the flanks, it's not looking good. It's not looking good whatsoever for Asturias. Looks like the ambushers are getting a charge here. They do have a nice charge bonus against the Levy Spears. They should be able to deal with the Levy Spears at least. But the main center of Asturias has crumbled. And here the swordsmen are getting a nice engagement on the Levy Archers. Spearmen are charging into Avar noble swords in shield wall, so not a good time for them there. And the ambushers are winning against the Levy Spears. Trying to get... yeah, they're attacking the spearmen in the rear here, so that's good for them. But these archers are going to be slaughtering units in the late game if they can survive. If indeed there is a late game here. Because the Avars haven't really... the shock cavalry didn't do too much. Only cheap Avar lancers. But this main line has barely been touched. The Avar noble sword main line. And they can just hold in shield wall and let the archers deal death to Asturias. Over here though, the Raider cavalry getting into the back of the Levy Archers. The spearmen getting broken in the center. But there aren't that many ambushers left. And they could... yeah, they're going to get killed by the spears here. This is a very, very, very bad time to be an Asturias soldier. So the Royal Guardsmen and the Avar noble swords kind of just walk into each other. And the Avar noble swords are in shield wall, so are the Royal Guardsmen. So the Royal Guardsmen should do well against the Avar noble swords here, eventually. But the prior hit point damage taken by the Royal Guardsmen is just very, very problematic for them. And the Avar horse archers getting chased away here. The Royal Guard cavalry getting flanked by Avar noble swords while the Avar lancers charge them frontally. So the Royal Guard cavalry is using brace, which is going to allow him to deal with this depleted unit of Avar lancers fairly quickly. But I would be more worried about this unit of Avar noble swords. And actually the fire from the ambushers now, is, yeah, the general died. So Asturias might have killed their own general here with the supporting fire from these ambushers. Very, very dangerous to be throwing javelins into a mixed fight when you're the player that has cavalry in that fight. And the Raider Cav actually defeated by the Levy Archers here, it seems. Might just be because the general died, so that broke their morale. And now there isn't much that Asturias can do here. Just a few engagements remaining, but the general being dead, the swordsmen are not, of course, going to do well against the Avar noble swords.
The men have thrown down their weapons and are fleeing.
The ambushers charging into the spearmen, but they could get rear charged. And the main line swords of the Avars are holding strong. Not easy to break the Avar sword line. The Avars are an exceptionally strong faction in Charlemagne. They can bring a lot of stuff that other factions can't, and they don't really have any shortcomings. They have good foot skirmishers, they have good cavalry, they have good swords, they have decent cheap spears. And Asturias just crumbles here. In my opinion, Asturias is probably one of the weaker factions. So yeah, a unit of ambushers holding out here. Nice kills, but very low value kills. And these are the last units of Asturias on the battlefield here. So valiant defeat there for the Kingdom of Asturias. The Avars, this is a scary Avar army. Congratulations to Reptilicus winning the Flash tournament there. I'm sure he's happy winning the tournament with the Nomad faction. But yeah, this army is a scary, scary army to be facing when you are the Kingdom of Asturias. The Royal Guardsmen were neutralized by the archers. The Avar nobles held strong in the center, and the only 3 good melee units here for the Kingdom of Asturias. No real melee cavalry, and these ambushers, they did a decent job, but they did a decent job against crap units that are way below their price range. So let's just take a look at Asturias and the Avars. Let's see, Kingdom of Asturias, yeah. So ambushers, very expensive. You do have the armored swords, just a standard sword unit. Then you have the Royal Guardsmen. In terms of cavalry, the problem is that the cavalry is all sword cavalry, so they're not going to do that well against shock cavalry. They're not going to do that well against... they are very cheap. You could bring very cheap Iberian cavalry. I believe the funds were 9,000 here, so that would be medium funds. No, that they would be custom funds. Let's see here. Let's see, funds, custom. So one of the strengths of Asturias is that they are potentially cost effective. But let's just have a look at what they can bring. They can bring, let's see, 4 armored swords, 3 Iberian cav. They can bring 4 raider cav. But here's the problem, no real range on the foot skirmishers. So you can either bring the multi-purpose ambushers, which is what Poccopacs chose to do, or you can just forego that completely, and you can choose to rush by bringing, let's say, you just bring some spears and cheap swords. I don't know if there was an infantry max or what in this battle, but let's compare that to the Avars. So the Avars have the Avar noble swords, very good. They can bring the dirt cheap levy archers with 44 missile damage, again very good. They can bring Avar horse archers, effectively shutting down any low health, low armor cavalry. They can bring in the Avar lancers, able to stop and do a lot of damage to enemy cavalry. And then they can bring in the very cheap spears. So on these types of funds, the Avars are absolute beasts. Very hard to directly counter the Avars, because they do have good melee infantry, they do have good foot skirmishers, they do have horse archers, and Reptilicus used them very well, just pulling back his main line and allowing his very high damage levy archers to snipe the shit out of the Kingdom of Asturias. So, good battle, guys. Strength and honor.